morning. Good morning, Spooty. The first one who made it here. Good morning, Spooty. How's it going, Spooty? How's your morning been? That seat looks like so perfect for you. The dress and all. That's so cute. So cute. Ah, that's good. Breakfast is very important. What did you get? I had my usual sourdough bread as usual. I don't really eat any other thing aside from sourdough bread, really. Sourdough bread with butter or mentaiko butter or garlic butter with a cup of hot coffee or cold coffee, depending on how I feel. And because I don't eat enough vegetables, so I always drink a glass of aojiru, green juice, in the morning as well. Longanisa. Good morning, Mia. Hey, rice and egg. Rice so early in the morning? Oh, but then I ate bread, so hey, carbs for the win, right? Morning, Mia. How you doing, Mia? You were very quiet the last time, the last stream. I change according to the book that I'm reading. Oh my god. How are you feeling now? Everyone's getting it. I think I'm gonna get it soon. It's like I'm looking forward to it. How are you feeling now? 7 days passed? What's your symptoms? Tell me about it. Good morning, Sentokari. Artie, getting COVID. You feel that? Just feel like breathing issues? Do you lose your appetite, your taste bud? Because that's the thing that I fear the most when it comes to COVID, is to lose my sense of taste. Because I'm a foodie, obviously. It's always a cough and a sore throat first. Oh, you got everything? Oh my god. Good morning, Fleen. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Morning, Fleen. Wow, there's so many of you here, but my viewer list is just one viewer. That's so weird. Fucking street, like Twitch, man. Seriously. Guys, you know what's fun? I picked up a part-time job, man. I want to work in a bakery. It's so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. I'm starting today. Aww. Aww, I miss you too, Flynn. It's been a while. How's everyone doing this morning besides Spooty had breakfast? Very... I don't know what longanisa is. Longanisa. Let me Google it. Longanisa. Oh my god! Sweet sausages? That sounds so good! I want that so much. Oh yeah, do you know that they are uh taking away hash brown from our local McDonald's? I'm so sad. Good morning, Zalant. Wow, so many of you here before I even start today. You guys are really anticipating the reading, huh? Like, are you guys anticipating the reading or you just want to hang out with me? Yeah, they're taking away hash brown from the breakfast sets. Like, yeah, it's so stupid from McDonald's. And there was one morning I went to McDonald's. I want to get like their um sausage McMuffin with egg. And they usually serve breakfast until 11, but I have no idea why. It was like 10:30 in the morning, and I was like, hey, it's not 11 yet. I should be able to get McDonald's breakfast. And instead that, no, they already changed to lunch menu by then, like the value meals menu by then. I was like, what? What happened to the breakfast menu? Uh, Everything changed, man. Apparently, it's because potato prices rising, so they gotta cut out a lot of potatoes from the menu because they don't make as much money anymore. So, hash brown is gone from McDonald's. Very sad. Yeah. Yeah. My country's going down on the water right now. Maybe I should go to Singapore and work, make those dollar, you know. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to leave my room. Anyway, guys, today I need to stop my stream sharp at 1 o'clock because I can't read any further than that because I pick up a part-time job that I need to leave the house at 1:30. So, no talkie after the reading. So if you want to talkie, you can talkie right now. And then you guys can tell me when to start reading the book. I blame the Fire Nation. Yeah, blame everything. Oh, I think that's Zalont, right? Zalont change hair every 2 days. No, it's Sento Kari. Hey, Sento. Thank you for being here in real life, and also I mean in stream, and also in my room. Yeah, I'm very nervous because I haven't really worked outside of my computer for 3 years. So to be outside, I'm a little bit nervous, to be completely honest. But everything should be fine. I'm a bit awkward usually, but I think I should be friendly enough to them. Like, I'm their customer really. I went to get my sourdough bread from them like almost on a weekly basis, and then one day they're just like, hey, we are like hiring like part-timers and full-timers. And I was like, oh, does age apply because I'm like old as fuck? And they're like, nah. And I was like, okay, I'll do part-time. And the best thing about it is that they are so flexible about it. Like, I was like, I can't do weekends, but they never question me why I can't do weekends because I'm a part-timer. And then after that, I said that I can only do afternoon because I don't want to miss Noodible stream. You see, I put Noodibles above everything. Okay. So yeah, I do Noodibles. I think I'm gonna put a proper. Oh, Dare. I've never seen this person before. What name is this? Sensual Senpai, and you're a Lalafell. disturb me a little bit, but yeah, you can sit there. You can sit there. You can sit there. You can sit on the carpet. You can sit anywhere you want. You can sit on the candle if you want. Right? You can sit anywhere you want. You can sit on top of this pile of book if you want. But I think you will look really cute on that carbuncle chair over there. And I have two little Larafels on carbuncle chairs. But feel comfortable. Do anything you want. Sit anywhere you want, okay? Yeah. You can sit there as well. That's totally fine. Hell yeah, bitch. Alright, thank you for being here. Okay, Sensual. I don't know what to call you. I'll call you Senpai. Senpai, I think this is the first time you are here in my stream. So what I do is that I read a book, as some kind of book reading event, like Audible, but it's not Audible, it's Noodible, because I am Ariana Nuna. Oh, his PF, his or her PF. What PF was it? Was it like a performance venue PF? I want to see his adventure plate. Due to privacy restriction, damn, he only show his friends. Let's see a adventure plate. That's pretty good. That's not too bad. Not too bad. Oh, that's so super close up. I want donut. Please assist reward. I don't have any. Do I have a donut recipe in this game actually? I actually don't know. Actually, I don't remember what my adventure plate looks like. Oh, wow. Shit. That's pretty dark. That's my old glam too. I should change it actually. My new glam is nicer. Sento curry. I don't know. Sento curry. Oh wait, you are here. Sorry, I will add friend. Oh. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Senpai, can I add you as friend? Please not if you let me add you as friend. Good morning, Ando. Yeah, we have a Nuna and a Senpai here. Hell yeah. Senpai, let me be his friend. Senpai came from Atomos too. Damn. Okay, let me. Oh my god, I fucking hate this loading thing. Thank you. Still, is it? It's okay. I respect your privacy, Sensual Senpai. Okay. Because I... Oh, 8 viewers? What are you guys doing? Oh my god, I haven't even started reading. Okay. I'm gonna start reading now. Okay, so... Oh, that's cute. I like it. You bring good juju? Thank you. I can already feel that good juju. I'll have a good day today at work. Thank you so much. For business only. Sentokari, please don't. It's a Lalafell. Please don't go there. Okay, guys. I'm gonna start reading because I need to leave at 1. 8:45, and I need time to eat lunch and all that. Um, yeah, take your time. You don't even have to be here, really. I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee, and then I am going to start reading. Okay, let me zoom out. Can't get everyone in the same frame, unfortunately, but it's okay. I'm just gonna focus on myself because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I gotta work too later. Okay. 30 seconds. I'll be back. Today we are reading Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sakegawa. Chapter 11. Summer arrived in full force. Cicadas cried from the cherry trees, and in the evenings, a pleasant breeze blew briefly as dusk began to arrive earlier each day. At Doraharu, Sentaro was set to get through the summer period without any seasonal slump in business. Custom from school kids usually drop off during the summer holidays, but that wasn't happening this year. Quite the opposite. In fact, for the young girls continued to gather there every day at the counter seats. They came for dorayaki and cold drinks, and to Sentaro's surprise, Tokue's presence also seemed to be a draw. The group of girls who stopped by on their way home from cram school were in that category. They would sit at the counter with their heads propped on their hands and complain in loud voices, enough for Tokue to hear from where she was sitting on her chair in the back. Ugh, study's a pain in the neck, one might say. And with a smile, Tokue would reply from her seat, well then, why don't you take a day off and have some fun? The girls wrinkle up their noses at that. My parents will throw me out. Leave them if you want to have fun. Seriously? I'm serious. Ooh, are you telling us to be delinquents? Sentaro could see that while keeping her distance, Tokue appeared to wait for the right timing to deliver her comments. Whenever she heard their loud voices coming up the street, she would retreat dolefully to the seat in the back, but there would already be a vague smile on her face. Home is so boring. I don't want to go back, wailed one girl. Why don't you find something to do with yourself? Tokue instantly responded. Like what? The girl asked. What about connection lost? Hell yeah, bitch. That's how we do it. Fucking hell. connection lost. What's wrong with this fucking server, man? Like, I'm not even. Jesus Christ. This is annoying as fuck. I just started reading, dude! I have to wait. Now I have to wait. 12? Wow. It's okay. Alright. That's embarrassing. So stupid. Ah! Okay. Let's continue. Home is so boring. I don't want to go back, wailed one girl. Why don't you find something to do with yourself? Tokue instantly responded. Like what? The girl asked. What about working here part-time? Tokue proposed. Stop that now, Sentaro shot back from in front of the griddle. He was afraid, but she was only half joking. Granted, these kids were just school kids, but it was a problem for him that they stuck around for 2 hours or so for the price of one single dorayaki. It was on the tip of his tongue to suggest they must be tired of chattering and how about getting a move on. He didn't appreciate Tokue butting in and keeping the conversation going. But ever since the day she had run the shop by herself, Sentaro had changed his tune. He let her do as she pleased. She was there on a pitifully low wage, and her presence in the shop was part of the reckoning. Which was not to say, however, that he thought it was acceptable to lower all barriers between them and the customers. There was something else that bothered Sentaro. The expressions on the customers' faces when they caught the sight of Tokue sitting in the back. This included the schoolgirls. He had not missed the way some of them looked at her and suddenly lapsed into silence, or the momentary flash in their eyes. There was one schoolgirl who mostly came alone. Her name was Wakana, which was a nickname, and she never said how it originated. According to the other girls, there was one time when Wakana wore her hair short in a cute bob, just like the well-known cartoon character Wakame-chan. So maybe that explained it. But after the court proceedings and her parents' divorce, neither Wakana's personality nor her hairstyle had ever been the same, apparently. Wakana was not a talkative girl. She would sit and eat dorayaki while staring into the kitchen with the dewy eyes. That gaze bothered Sentaro, who sometimes asked unusually if she was alright. But Wakana always kept quiet, even when Sentaro spoke to her. It was only after Tokue began giving her the misshapen reject dorayaki that she started to speak of her own accord. She mentioned that she lived with just her mother, who worked at night, that money was tight, and that she would come home after school to find her mother's boyfriend's underwear lying about the house. Tokue sometimes gave reject dorayaki to the other girls too when they chatted with her. She would take the pancakes that Sentaro had spoiled during cooking, put sweet bean paste or cream in them, and give them to the girls, saying,
This is on the house. Sentaro did not like her doing this. He tried to tell her so indirectly, but she dismissed him. What's wrong with him? With it, she said. Better than throwing them away. Wakana said the rejects taste better than the standard dorayaki. This spurred Tokue on to try honey and other fillings. It was after polishing one of these experiments one day that Wakana finally brought up the so far unmentioned. Tokue-san, what happened to your fingers? Sentaro turned around to see Tokue, who was seated, folded her hands in attempt to hide her fingers. Oh, this. When I was a little girl, I got sick and my fingers stayed crooked. What kind of sickness? He saw her expression harden. An awful sickness, was all she said. Wakana nodded and said nothing more. She bit into her remaining dorayaki and chewed without comment, as if to cover the awkwardness of the moment. To Sentaro, her chewing sounded like a wordless conversation between Tokue and Wakana. From that day on, Wakana did not come to Doraharu anymore. Tokue often chatted about the students while she did the washing. She noted how so and so had recently started to smile, so things must be better at home, or how she thought somebody else probably had a broken heart because she had seen the girl's friend consoling her. The things people said in that situation never changed. With time, she observed. Another girl had shown Tokue her new mobile phone, which was apparently the very latest, so Sentaro probably hadn't seen one yet either, she said. What kind of world will it be in the future now that those things are an inseparable part of the children's lives? She wondered. Tokue also mentioned Wakana. She hasn't been by recently, she said one day. Sentaro was scraping the burnt crumbs off the griddle. You mean the rude girl? Why do you say that? She sprung the question about your fingers on you, didn't she? You were the same, Tokue stated. It was my job to say that. I had to ask at least once. But that's how it is. Huh? Sentaro looked confused. I sometimes think, well, what of it? Sentaro raised his eyes from the griddle to look at Tokue, still not understanding. Only adults look while pretending not to. Is that better? Or is it better to ask straight out? Ah, difficult question. I could tell Wakana had been wondering about my fingers for a while. She only asked because she wanted to know me better. You think so? Yes. So don't pick on that girl or talk about her like that. What's this? Now you're angry at me? Tokue smiled and Sentaro relaxed slightly. You like children, don't you? He said. Me. I get uptight when they come here in groups. I wanted to be a teacher, you know. Primary school? That would have been alright, but mostly I want to teach Japanese at middle school. I wanted to study, you know. I guess things were hard after the war. The country was poor. Instinctively, Sentaro tried to anticipate Tokue and create a space for her words. Everybody was poor, not just my family. Why a Japanese teacher? Sentaro kept the questions coming, trying to mend things. I like poetry. I used to read poetry when I was young, like Heine and Hakushu Kitahara and other poets, in books I found in my older brother's rooms. Goodness, Tokue-san, you are full of what surprises. Reading and imagining things was about the only pleasure we had in those days. I loved using my imagination. That's why I thought it interesting you wanted to be a writer. That was a long time ago. But don't you still have dreams from the past? I never thought I would get a chance in this life to talk with sweet young girls like that. That's why I'm so happy. By sweet, you mean those girls that come here? Yes, I do. I never got to be a teacher, but now I can enjoy a fraction of what it might have been like. Thank you for giving me the chance to meet those girls. Get on with you. I'm the one who's being helped. As he scrubbed the griddle with a scouring brush, Sentaro silently prayed for Wakana to show her face again soon. Chapter 12. Summer holidays came to an end when the girls who gathered at Doraharu began appearing in their school uniforms again. The days were still hot and humid, but as soon as evening drew near, the air cooled considerably. Faded leaves rustled in the wind and fell one by one onto the footpath outside the shop. Sentaro had finished cleaning inside and was removing dead leaves from the shutter grooves when he heard a voice behind him. Sorry to come at this late hour. It was his boss, the owner. Oh, he muttered in surprise. Ma'am? He ushered her inside the counter seat. Sentaro was rattled by this unscheduled visit and searched his mind trying to think why she might be here. They met every week for her to check the books and bank transfers, sometimes at the shop and sometimes at her home, but it was always pre-arranged. She was surprisingly busy with all her medical appointments. Sentaro too was always working, so it wasn't as if he had a lot of time either. Any business matters were therefore usually discussed at out-of-shop hours when there were no customers, and she always telephoned the day before. It suited Sentaro to have this tacit understanding that as it gave him time to get the books in order and clean before she came. Most importantly, however, he could make sure that Tokue-san was not around. So, why now? All of a sudden? Sentaro had a bad feeling. Tokue had been in the shop just a short while before doing the washing up. Had the owner arrived an hour earlier, they would have run into each other. She put a stick on the counter. Tea, please, Sentaro, she said, pointing to the cup. He put the kettle on the stove. Sorry to come when you are busy. Not at all. What's up? Her eyes darted about the interior, then abruptly she pursed her lips and looked Sentaro in the eye. There are rumors, she began, about someone who works here. Oh, that would be Tokue-san. Tokue? Is that her name? The moment Sentaro had feared was finally here. He looked away and put his fingers on the kettle handle. I heard about it from somebody. Is it true that her hands are crippled? Sentaro closed his eyes once before speaking. It's a little bit. Is that a problem? Is her face paralyzed as well? Sentaro gave her a puzzled look. My friend says, I'm sorry, but this is not good. My friend says it looks like leprosy. Leprosy? Nowadays they call it Hansen's disease. Hansen's disease. Sentaro felt the blood draining from his face. Yes, and that got me worried. Actually, I came back here an hour and watched from the road. Why would you do that? You could have come inside and met Tokue directly. She nodded and gave Sentaro a steely look. That wouldn't be very good for you, would it, Sentaro? Haven't you been sneaking about up to now, making sure I didn't meet her? Huh? No, what do you mean? The kettle vibrated under his hand as the water approached the boil. Inside, he felt even more turbulent. I couldn't see very well, but there was definitely something wrong with that woman's hands. Not so much that you notice. If the customers notice, it's not good for the shop. Ha! If there's something you're not telling me, spit it out. That's not. I just want to say that this shop has been turned around because of Tokue's bean paste. She has 50 years experience of making it. Sentaro didn't wait for the kettle to come to a boil. He poured water into the teapot. She's popular with the young people too. Oh really? She obviously works hard. Yes, she does a good job. How old is this person? In her 70s. Sentaro answered, pouring tea into a cup. But she's very good for her age. She smiled at the owner. About the same age as me, she said, taking the cup. Ugh! She drew a sharp breath. What is it? Did she use this cup too? He nodded. They say it's rarely catching. Sentaro, this is serious. What if it gets out that an eating establishment is employing a leprosy patient? But Tokue got sick when she was a girl, and her fingers were bent like that as a side effect. She has been cured for a long time now. She would say that, wouldn't she? Did you know, Sentaro, that in severe cases of leprosy the fingers drop off? Tokue has all her fingers. Where does she live, that woman? Sentaro turned away and put a hand against his chest as if to still the turmoil. The notebook in which Tokue had written her address was on the shelf in the kitchen. He found it and opened it up for the owner to see. She looked at the writing, went still and closed her eye. What is it? This is where they keep the lepers. Her voice was a whisper, though no one else was present. There's a sanitarium. Sentaro put both his hands on the countertop. In silence, he looked at the address Tokue had written. So that was it. That's why it had triggered something the first time he saw it. At the time, he couldn't figure out why. Now it was mentioned. He remembered that he heard rumors about this district before because of the sanatorium. This writing is all crooked. But she says she's all cured. I don't know about that now, Sentaro. But people used to get put in isolation for life when they got the disease. I saw them when I was a girl hanging around the temple. Their faces look dreadful like monsters. The public health authorities used to disinfect any places they had been. But madam, Sentaro picked up the cup that she had pushed back towards him and took it over to the sink. I know I've said it already, but it's because Tokue and it's because of Tokue. This place is making profit at last. She comes here early and make bean paste for me. The owner looked shrewdly at the copper bean pot sitting at the gas cooker and the bowl with azuki beans soaking in it. I can see that. But if the person who informed me starts talking to the others, we are done for. What if somebody around here got leprosy and this shop was the source of infection? Who told you what exactly? I can't tell you that. She clamped her lips and stared at Sentaro. Think what will happen if she stays here. What if you catch it too? Sentaro could only blink in reply. He turned to look at the soaking beans. In any case, Tokue, is it? You have to. She broke off, then continued to wind up her case. You can pay her off. Give her a good sum. But you have to let her go. If she doesn't, this place will fold. But what will I do for bean paste? You can make it, can't you? You must have learned by now if you have been making it with her. Had he? Sentaro was not confident. He was continually amazed by Tokue's attitude towards the beans. At a deep level, she was doing something very different to him. Well, Sentaro, can't you make the bean paste yourself? That's not the problem. What then? The thing is, Tokue and I made this shop profitable together. We even get accused sometimes. There are kids who depend on her too. Is that the kind of person you want me to fire? I don't like having to say this either, you know, but it can't be helped. This is a disease we are talking about, a very serious one, and at least one person has already noticed. Morning, Aru. Sentaro could see that she was not going to budge, though he did not refuse to obey her outright. He was careful to say, "Please give me some time." The owner looked annoyed. "You promised to let me be there when you interviewed casual workers," she said insistently and pointed to a corner of the kitchen. "Give me that," she said, thrusting her chin in the direction of the alcohol sterilizing spray for the kitchen use. Sentaro passed it over and she sprayed it on her hands. Fine beads of alcohol solution hung in the air and floated over the beans Tokue had left soaking. "I understand how you might feel. I don't enjoy saying this, but sacrifices are sometimes necessary. My husband entrusted this job to you. You are in charge of it, so I want you to do the job properly and not let your emotions carry you away. And besides," she paused, "don't you still owe us money?" Sentaro lowered his eyes and said nothing. He didn't lift his face again until she had gone. That night, Sentaro could not sleep. Unusually for him, he went to bed without a drink and stared up at the dark ceiling, his mind in a whirl. After a while, he reached the conclusion that he knew nothing about Hansen's disease and pushed back the covers. Since he couldn't sleep, switching on the light at the desk, he started up an ancient dust-covered computer for the first time in a while and connected it to the internet with an analog cable that had also been lying around disused. Once it was set up, he typed Hansen's disease into a search engine. A list of article titles appeared on the screen. Sentaro stared at the monitor, not knowing where to start. All he knew was that he did not want to look at shocking photographs of patients. Girding himself to get on with it, he started off by reading through all the titles in order. The contents seemed widely varied. Historical accounts of the illness, medical explanations, the bittersweet victories and struggles of former patients who had fought for the repeal of the Leprosy Prevention Act, digests from major newspapers and relevant pages on the Ministry of Health website. He chose the selection and looked through them methodically. Every article contained medical terms that made the topic seem difficult, but he was able to glean enough by reading the more accessible part and piecing all the information together. To begin with, he discovered that everybody currently living in sanatoriums around Japan was cured of the disease. There were no current patients. And in the unlikely case that there was an outbreak of Hansen's, modern methods of treatment were capable of quickly achieving a complete cure with no further possibility of the patient being contagious to others. Moreover, the disease had an extremely low degree of infectivity. And apparently, no Japanese medical staff had ever contracted it in the course of administering treatment. In the days of less advanced hygiene, however, when the treatment method were yet to be established, it was regarded as an incurable disease, and patients were therefore quarantined by law. They also suffered from discrimination because of the side effects that caused parts of the body to drop off, but such symptoms were only evident in patients who had not received treatment until the disease was far advanced. With early and appropriate treatment, there were no permanent side effects. After skimming through once more, Sentaro shut down the computer. He had seen photographs that made him want to turn his eyes away, but the problem of Tokue weighed less heavily on him now. There were still sanatoriums, it was true, but no more patients, and most importantly, there were no carriers anymore. Even if Tokue had suffered from this disease in the past, as the owner suspected, there should be no issue about it now, to say nothing of the fact that Tokue had said she got it. Thank you. Even if Tokue had suffered from this disease in the past, as the owner suspected, there should be no issue about it now, To say nothing of the fact that Tokue had said she got it when she was young, a long time would have passed since she was completely cured. She didn't need to make Tokue leave. Although Sentaro was convinced of this now, he was still not sure how to handle the situation. Sentaro contemplated printing out some of the articles he had read on the internet and showing them to the owner. The disease had been all but eradicated in Japan, so it was simply not possible that Tokue could be a source of contagion decades after being caught. Decades after being cured. Should he be the point? Should he point that out to her? He was not confident, however, that such a direct approach would cut any ice with her. Simply saying that medically speaking, there was nothing to worry about would not undo the damage done to Tokue's fingers by the disease. And her fingers were what people saw. Sentaro had a feeling that the owner would not change her mind about wanting Tokue gone. In which case, what should he do? It dawned on him that one way out might be to get Tokue to leave temporarily. It would be a stretch, to be sure, but he could tell her this had been a temporary position and ask her to leave, and then ask her back when the timing was good, to continue teaching him how to make the bean paste. Sentaro thought it through. He could smooth things over with the owner and do his best in the meantime to hone his own sweet bean paste making skills. But the more he thought about it, the less enthusiasm Sentaro had for the idea. He would just be going through the motions and could not think of any reason he could give Tokue as to why she must quit. Besides, he was the one who wanted to get away from the shop. Was it even necessary for him to stick around to deal with this problem? Sentaro continued to stare at the dark ceiling, unable to reach a conclusion. Chapter 13. In the end, Sentaro could not come to any decision. Unable to decide on any course of action regarding Tokue or the future of the shop, he simply continued to work as usual. He said nothing to Tokue of the owner's visit or what he had read on the internet about Hansen's disease, nor did he change his attitude towards her anyway. Sentaro just went on as usual. However, anxiety lay heavy in the pit of his stomach. It was only a matter of time before the owner would demand an explanation, and he had to work out how he was going to placate her when the time came. It was all getting too much. Sentaro asked himself if he should quit too. He thought about abandoning everything, then recalled his late boss' square face. "I'll take care of your money problem. Come and help me out," he said. Sentaro had been working part-time in a pub after his release from a prison when the big man had approached him with this offer. He had been imprisoned for a direct violation of the Cannabis Control Act. It was his first offense, but he had also been involved in trafficking. Although he wasn't the prime culprit, he had cut ties with the fringes of an organized crime group, from which he received a certain financial benefits. His sentence reflected this with no suspension, and he ended up staring at the walls for 2 years. During the course of a tough interrogation leading up to this, he never divulged the names of certain people. His former boss was one of them. A small-time, shady character who traded on his links with criminal gangs. But to Sentaro, there was still human warmth in the man. "You did good, protecting me," he had said. That night, Sentaro told him he would work at Toraharu. The two had been standing on the roadside, the big man weeping silently. Then they went drinking until the morning. The boss suffered from cirrhosis due to long years of heavy drinking. His face was the same bronze color as the dorayaki he cooked. In the end, he vomited up blood and in the middle of pulling on his shoes to go to the hospital, and passed away on the spot from a burst vein. That was when Sentaro was in his 3rd year of helping out at Toraharu. After the funeral, his wife pleaded with Sentaro to stay on at the shop. Her husband had told her to leave things to him if something happened, she said, clasping both his hands in hers with tears in her eyes. It was true, this couple had helped him during an unsettled period in his life after his release from the prison. When Sentaro thought about it like that, leaving the shop before he could finish paying back his debt was inconceivable. He understood that very well. He sighed as he stood at the griddle thinking it over. What a dilemma. It wasn't as if he was a regular hard-working guy to begin with. What the hell should he do? Unable to find any answers, Sentaro simply kept on doing what he did every day, cooking pancakes for dorayaki, filling them with bean paste and smiling for the customers, and like his late boss, he drank night after night. Time went by and the autumnal rain front arrived, bringing day after day of unending drizzle. Passerbys now were wearing warm cardigans and jackets and carried umbrellas in one hand. The faded leaves on the tree outside the shop began dropping constantly. The change came suddenly. By the time Sentaro noticed, it was already significant. Is it the rain, I wonder? He muttered with a concerned expression. And he and Tokue looked over the books together. They had to adjust the volume of beans they cooked. In fact, there was already a plentiful supply of bean paste in the refrigerator and no need to cook anymore. For some reason, sales had fallen over the last week, and for the last 3 days in particular had been terrible. Tokue looked through the window, up at the leaden sky, and then at the road. If only the weather would clear up a bit. The weather is enough to get anyone down, Sentaro said, trying to dispel a niggling, unvoiced anxiety. The drop in takings was unmistakable. Slowly but surely sales had fallen, as if in tandem with the over-shortening days. Things will pick up when the rain stops, he said, as if reassuring himself. Yes, all we need is a bit of blue sky. In his heart, Sentaro suspected there might be another reason. Given the busy period during the rainy season came back in June, this explanation didn't make sense. Customers had lined up in the rain holding umbrellas in spite of the heat and humidity, and sales had grown. So what was going on now? Extraordinarily, this should be the start of the season for dorayaki, when the air began to feel cool on the skin. He also considered that perhaps the sluggish economy had something to do with it. There were permanently shuttered shops all around them on this street. Just last week, a fishmonger had closed up, a business that had managed to struggle along for many years. It was getting more and more deserted around here. Weather like this, when the rain set in and the sky was overcast day after day, was enough to make anyone depressed. Nobody would feel like buying anything, would they? Come to think of it, I haven't bought anything recently either. Tokue, who had been staring vaguely out of the window, turned and looked at him as if to say, "What are you talking about?" How about you, Tokue? Have you bought anything recently? She still didn't appear to grasp his train of thought and the significance of what she was being asked. You mean go shopping? She answered. Yeah, we aren't selling much, and then I was thinking, well, we're not buying much anything, and either. Tokue nodded, getting his meaning at last. I don't really go shopping, she murmured, and then turned her back on Sentaro to retreat into the rear of the shop. That evening, the owner came back, arriving after Tokue left. She sat at the counter and looked over the books, saying little and then straightened up with a loud sigh. Sentaro. Sentaro also straightened up. Didn't I ask you to let the woman go as soon as possible? Sentaro stood stiff and nodded. I have been back several times, keeping my distance even though this is my own shop. You have a reputation to keep up, you know. That woman is always here, isn't she? Tokue or whatever her name is. She's still working here. But in the sense you're talking about, Tokue is alright. She's all cured. But if she's cured, why is she still in the sanatorium? Why haven't you done anything about this? I. Did you speak to her? Sentaro stuck for words. What? Haven't you even asked by now if she got leprosy? Well, what are you thinking of? The owner's voice vibrated shrilly. Now, just a moment, madam. What should I wait for? You already kept me waiting all this time. Tokue was ill for a long time ago and it might have been Hansen's disease, but she's cured now. She's the same as anyone else. She's not the same. Her fingers are crooked, aren't they? The disease has been as good as eradicated in Japan and there are no patients in the sanatorium anymore. What do you mean? Why should I believe you when you're not a doctor or anything? Are you telling me to fire someone who is not sick just because she was in the past? This shop serves food and drink. We have an image to protect. Do you think we can have someone here to scare the customers away? The owner put her hands to her angry red cheeks and then dropped them to her side. I didn't want to say this, but it's thanks to this shop that you can survive, isn't it? When you had your back to the wall, who was it that took care of things? Surely you don't think Doraharu belongs to you, do you, Sentaro? If you don't fire that woman, I have no choice but to ask you to leave. Do I make myself clear? But my husband started this shop and I am the owner now. Madam? I know it's not easy for you either, but look at these figures. How could you do well and then suddenly this happened? Could it be by any chance that rumors have spread about the diseased person working here? If so, this shop is done for. No! If that were the case, I would have heard. It's probably because of this long rainy season. Business is bad everywhere, and it just keeps on raining. Whatever. Just send her packing. The owner drew in a deep breath and pressed her lips tight. There was a long silence. Apparently, she was waiting for Sentaro to reply. But Sentaro said nothing, and she lost patience. That's my last word, she said and stormed out of the shop. Chapter 14. Crickets chirped beneath the cherry tree. Footsteps clicked distinctly on the road of intervals as people came and went. The stars shone brightly on this quiet autumn night, visible again for the first time in days. The griddle was already cooling off, but Sentaro still had sweat running down his face. You won't change your mind? Tokue was sitting down. No, she said with a shake of her head. I came to this decision myself. I'm almost at my limit. You could come in just once or twice a month. I don't think so. But I still haven't learned everything I need to know about your sweet bean paste. Voices filtered through the half-closed shutters. Probably schoolgirls are on their way home from after-school activities. A pair of legs in short skirt appeared below the shutter. Looks close. Oh, that sucks. Sorry, we're finished for today, Sentaro called out. He heard a grumble in reply and the round of retreating footsteps. That's the girl who played tennis. A smile lit Tokue's face for a second, and then she promptly hung her head again. Her clasped hand rested on the folded apron on her lap. Those girls will feel the same as I do. I wish you would come and visit sometimes, Sentaro pleaded. Tokue shook her head. Why not, Tokue? I think the reason sales got down recently might be because of my past. Oh, I don't think. I'm sure of it. We don't know that. Though I was cured more than 40 years ago. They don't quit, Sentaro wanted to say. He thought he should say, in fact, but he saw the owner's face in his mind and the words died on his lips. He said nothing. Tokue looked at him with concern. Sentaro, it's all right. No, I can't get things right. It's my fault too. Tokue picked up the apron from her knees and gripped the hem of her bent fingers. Why is it your fault? She asked. Tokue-san? Yes? I don't think I should have to ask you this, but your sickness, was it Hansen's disease? Yes, it was. I should have told you before. Oh, Sentaro mumbled vaguely, but could say no more. Once you get diagnosed, that's the end of your life. That's how it's used to be with this sickness. Sentaro looked at Tokue's fingers, clutching the hem of her apron. Divine punishment, they call it. Some people even say it was a punishment for sins in the previous life, you know. If somebody got it, the police and public health officials were called in, and then there would be a full-on disinfecting. It was awful for families too. They were made to feel terribly ashamed. But you were cured, aren't you? Tokue nodded empathetically. Yes, we got a medicine from America, but I still got these side effects on my fingers. Other people too. I read about it. Were you really isolated? I mean, like completely? Yes. Tokue raised one eyebrow. So you did some research? Yes, on the internet. Well, now, complete isolation. It meant we were never allowed outside those gates. It's not so long since that law was abolished, you know? Sorry to help you on this, but you don't have the disease anymore, do you? No. I was diagnosed as a non-carrier 40 years ago, but I still wasn't allowed to go out into town like this. When I first got sick, I was only... Tokue's voice trailed off. She pressed her lips together and brought the edge of the apron up to her eyes. I'm so sorry, Tokue. Sentaro looked at the floor. I was only about the same age as those young girls that come here. At the thought of all she had gone through, Sentaro could not bring himself to look at her face. Tokue-san, I've been shut up ever since. You've been in the sanatorium all this time? Yes, Tenshoen. So that was it. Sentaro realized he had heard the name before. He knew roughly where it was but had never been in the neighborhood. That's quite far away from here, isn't it? How did you get here so early? Before the buses start running? Oh, that was no problem. Surely not by taxi? I said it's fine. Tokue smiled wanly. You came by taxi? On that pay? I'm sorry. Don't worry. I enjoyed every moment. You don't know I mean it. There was a time when I had given up on all hope of ever going outside those gates into the world again. But now look at me. I could come here and met so many people. All because you gave me a job. Sentaro hastily shook his head. You're the one who helped me. Oh, get on with you, boss. I am an old woman. With hands like this, my face is half paralyzed too. You took me on in spite of all that. You let me talk to those sweet girls. I've always wanted to do this kind of work. I'm very happy. Tokue dabbed her eyes with the apron. In fact, I've been thinking about quitting, and I've been feeling a bit weary recently. It's good timing. She dipped her white-haired head low in respectful bow. Thank you, she said. No, I'm the one who should thank you for all you have done for me. Well, I'll be off then. Still seated, Tokue turned to let her gaze travel all around the shop. letting it pause on the plate of reject pancakes. Then she refolded her apron, placed it on the kitchen counter, put the scarf in her bag and stood up. Say goodbye to Wakana and the other girls from me. I'll tell them if they turn up. Tokue opened the back door and stepped outside. Sentaro went with her close by her side. Out on the Out on the street, leaves drifted down from the cherry trees, hazily lit by the street lights. When I first came here, the blossoms were out, but it's a sad sight now, she said. The wind's cold too. I wonder if I'll see next year's blossoms. Of course you will. Tokue, please, will you come and teach me how to make the bean paste again? Tokue smiled faintly but gave no answer. Thank you, she said once more. I'm the one who should be thanking you. Truly, I mean it. Tokue put her hand out to stop Sentaro, who looked as if he was going to follow her. This is far enough, she said. He watched in silence as she walked off along the street into the dark night. The sight of her retreating back made Sentaro aware for the first time how physically small she actually was. Tokue was the one who brought up the topic of quitting. Sentaro had merely accepted her resignation, yet he felt as if he had driven his own mother away. Pale-faced, he went back into the kitchen and stood there. His eyes fell on the bottle of alcohol disinfectant sitting on the edge of the counter, and he strode over to pick it up and hurled it against the closed shutter. Oh, yeah, you got one. Chapter 15. Autumn advanced. Dead leaves gathered on the pavement outside the shop despite Sentaro's efforts to sweeping them up this morning and night. People passed beneath the bare branched cherry tree without stopping by at Doraharu. Sentaro surveyed the scene through the bleary, hungover eyes. He was drinking more nowadays, going into the first bar he saw open after work, and although he never got violent, he would stay there clutching a glass until his legs became unsteady. In the bed at night, thoughts whirled about in his mind, words gnawed at his brain, and he woke up in the morning with a heavy head. After a while, it got so bad that he could no longer arrive in time to make the bean paste. 6 o'clock became 7, and then 8, then 9. Some days he didn't leave for the shop until it's close to noon. He felt as if everything on the street was rejecting him, even the cherry trees. The customers did not look like returning, and the very few regulars who still came had no reservations about voicing their complaints. I smelled something burning the other day, one told him. There were moments when Sentaro thought he should dispose of himself. One moment, please. He should dispose of himself rather than to reject dorayaki pancakes. If he gave himself up to the moment, he might just be able to do it. At times, he seriously considered this, but it wasn't just a question of what to do. He wanted nothing strongly enough to move him to action. He went through days leadenly, moving only his eyes to peer out at the world. The night when Wakana finally showed her face again, bare branches of the cherry tree bent in the wind, Sentaro had just turned off the griddle and was about to close up. He wore a half-length coat and was clutching a bulky object wrapped in green cloth that was so large it covered the top half of her body. She greeted Sentaro with a quick nod and placed the object on the counter. What's that? I'm closing up now. Yeah, Wakana muttered but gave no sign of moving. Sentaro took a dorayaki from the warmer and held it out to her. Don't just stand there, sit down, he said. Thank you, she replied softly. I guess Tokue is not here, is she? No. Wakana looked at her dorayaki, then turned back to Sentaro. What's this? This is hard to say, but I don't have any money. Haha. Sentaro laughed. Don't worry, the shop's already closed for today. Thank you. Wakana bowed slightly in thanks and took the dorayaki with both hands. Sentaro put another one on her plate. What's that? He said, pointing to the object that she had brought. Wakana's hand stopped mid-air just as she was about to make a bite of the dorayaki. She lowered her head. The thing is... What? The problem is, I ran away from home. Ran away? Sentaro raised an eyebrow. She nodded and reached over to the object next to her. This is a curtain, she said. Removed it to reveal a bird cage. A vivid splash of yellow moved inside. This baby has nowhere to go. A canary? His name is Marvy. I think he's a lemon canary. Anyway, here's why I came to see you. This is why you ran away, is it? You want me to... Sentaro's voice trailed off, realizing he was about to be landed with another complicated problem. I promised Tokue. Promise what? Well, Wakana hesitated and peered into the canary cage. Canary? 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 Thank you. Let me Google how to pronounce no. Sometimes the easiest looking words are more difficult. Canary. Canary. Okay. Canary. Canary. Sorry guys. English is my third language. Canary cage, not the bird. I think he was attacked by a cat or something. I found him about 6 months ago, flapping about on the side of the road, all covered in blood. Marvy, I thought he would die, but I couldn't just leave him there, so I took him home and he got better. I put cream on his cuts every day. Just did what I could and he survived. Well, that's great. But Wakana pointed to the cage. Marvy's a good boy. So when he got better, he started singing sometimes. That's the problem. Why? Because we live in a flat and we can't keep pets. Mom kept telling me to let him go before the neighbor told the landlord. But Marvy can't fly very well because his wings are rather stiff after his injuries. When I let him out of the cage inside... When I let him out of the cage inside, he just flies around for a bit and then flops on the floor. Mom's been on at me every day since summer to let him go, but the weather's getting colder and colder. Winter's coming and I don't think a canary could survive outside. Besides, he still couldn't fly well, so a cat or a crow might get him again. How can I let him go knowing that? Sentaro filled a cup with water from the tap and took a sip. He grimaced as it was sour. So what's the favor? Well, I thought this might happen, so I asked Tokue's advice before. Here. Yes, when you took your mental health break? My mental health break? That's what Tokue said. The time he disappeared from the shop in early summer, Sentaro put his hand to his face, and what did Tokue say? She said I couldn't take care of him anymore. Then you would. Me? Yes. The canary flapped its wings inside the cage and hopped around in a triangle. It gave a muffled chirp. His voice is not like any canary Sentaro had heard before. This wasn't the season for singing. Tokue, how could she? Listen, sorry, I live in a flat too and I can't have pets either. Tokue said that might happen. She said that in case maybe you could keep him here in the shop. She really said that? Yes. How could she? Sentaro almost expressed irritation in front of Wakana. I can't keep pets here. I'm not the owner. And besides, pets aren't usually allowed in places that serve food. Really? Yeah, can't do it. Wakana's face dropped. Disappointed, she looked at the birds in the cage. Wakana, do you know why Tokue quit working here? Sentaro hesitated a moment. What exactly did he think he was going to say to a schoolgirl? Now, now was the time to stop if he wasn't going to say more anymore. But he couldn't help himself. Wakana, do you remember? Remember you asked Tokue about her fingers? Wakana looked up from the canary and her eyes shifted uneasily from side to side. She nodded. She told you she got sick when she was young, right? Yeah. Was that the first time you noticed her fingers, Wakana? Or had you seen them before? Wakana turned to look at Sentaro again. Before. So why did you ask her at the time? Cheep cheep, the canary sang. Because I thought it was better that way. Her large, misty eyes filled with soft glow. Okay, if in that case Tokue was worried that sales at the shop had fallen, she said that it might be her fault. It's called Hansen's disease, isn't it? Wakana asked. Sentaro nodded. How did she know? I told one person about her fingers. Who? Wakana looked down at the dorayaki on her plate and then raised her face slowly. My mother. Wind blew through the door. Leaves driven by the wind knocked against the window with a dry, papery sound. Aha! Your mother. Yeah, and then she came here by herself one day. And? There's a Hansen sanatorium near here, right? The bus go all the way there. She said it might be someone from the sanatorium, so she said I couldn't come here anymore. The canary flew around in circles inside the narrow cage. Outside, leaves dropped from the cherry tree, one by one. So that's what happened. Sentaro took his face to digest this, trying hard to notice the expression on his face change. The words just came out anyway. Your mother. Do you think she told anybody about Tokue? Don't know. But she works at the bar, so maybe she was drunk and told somebody. Some guy from around here. Wakana sat stiffly, staring into the kitchen. Your mother wasn't the only one, Sentaro said softly. Other people certainly looked surprised when they saw Tokue's hand. I'm sure customers stopped coming because of it. Seems the rumors went around. That's awful, said Wakana, as if it had nothing to do with her. Sentaro thought about how to respond. He made several false starts before he could get the words out. That's what public opinion is. That's why I can't let you leave that canary here. Everyone is afraid of birds' food these days. 10 years ago, maybe now. But now people have a fit at the sight of a bird in a food and drink establishment. I don't know. Wakana stroked the wires of the bird cage with her fingers. Marvy jumped in response. I think some people would come just because there's a canary around. Sentaro shook her head. It's not that simple. Wakana hung her head. But then, Sentaro continued. What? Well, I said public opinion like it's got nothing to do with me, but actually I did something much worse. Sentaro confessed. Wakano made no reply. She stroked the bird cage and the canary hopped around inside, gently pecking near her finger. Eventually, she put her finger away and looked askance at Sentaro. Because I didn't stand up for her when she said she was going to quit. What do you mean? Wakana asked. Even though she taught me how to make bean paste from scratch. There was a short silence. I don't really understand, but why don't you start over? Wakana mumbled. Start over? Yes. What? You're really worrying about something else, aren't you? Sentaro made a non-committal sound. This time, It was his turn to hang his head. Have a go at starting over. It's not that easy. Do you know her telephone number? Wakana sat up straight. Sentaro responded as if prodded. She doesn't have one apparently, but I know her address. You know, the time when I talked to Tokoe-san, she said if you couldn't look after Marvy, then she would. Then she would, as a last resort. She said that? True? She did. Honest. We were looking at the full moon together. You could see it above the cherry tree outside the shop. And she said that it looked lovely. We should go outside and look. Then, while we were staring at the moon, she said that about Marvy. It was a promise between the three of us, Tokue-san and me and the moon. A promise to the moon? But I think Tokue lives in the sanatorium. She said that though. Alright then, I'll write and ask. The light returned to Wakana's face. She turned the full weight of her dewy shining eyes on Zentaro. In the end, he agreed to look after the canary until an answer came from Tokue. He took it back to his flat, praying that none of the neighbors would dob him in to the landlord. Chapter 16. A prickly holly hedge stretched as far as the eyes could see. Sentaro and Wakana found the signs for the National Hansen's Disease Museum and Tenshoen National Sanatorium at the corner of a quiet suburban street leading off the busy main road and set off walking in that direction. The eastern side of the street was a residential area, with the other side was bordered by an impenetrable holly hedge that extended into the distance like a green demarcating line without end. It reminded Sentaro of the place where he had once been shut up. They met nobody. The only sound in the air was bird song. Marvy chirped inside his cage as if in answer. This hedge goes on forever. It's called false holly. See how the leaves are hard and spiky, Wakana said. Holly, like at Christmas. Apparently they put this hedge all around to stop the patients getting out. But that was in the old days, right? It's still here though, isn't it? She responded. Wakana had been doing some research on the internet too. She had learned a bit about the government policy on the Hansen's disease patient and their forced segregation. Sentaro brushed his fingertips on the clusters of the hard spiky leaves as they walked. The prickles hurt. He sensed that this was a far more forbidding barrier than the one he had been imprisoned behind. Occasionally, there were breaks in the hedge that presumably had been a passageway through it, but the trees grew dense and thick on the other side, obscuring any view into the ground. They walked a long way following the hedge before the entrance to the National Hansen's Disease Museum finally came into view. Around the museum, the quietness was even more pronounced. Sunshine, filtering through the trees, dappled the ground outside the building. In the silence of the shadows and light, the stillness was palpable. Next to the museum entrance, they saw a statue of a mother and a daughter with the instantly recognizable hat, staff, and garb of pilgrims. Which one was afflicted? Wondered Sentaro. The mother or the daughter? In the past, when one person caught the disease, the whole family, both parent and child, were forced to leave home to wander about in unfamiliar parts. Perhaps this statue was meant to console their spirits. Sentaro felt himself grow physically tense at the thought of all the pain and suffering this place represented. They saw a sign in the car park with a map of the Tenshoen National Sanatorium grounds and searched for the shop where they were to meet Tokue. It appeared to be no more or less in the center, next to the meeting hall and bar, and close to rows of orderly housing subdivisions with names such as Daybreak and Venus. We are early, Sentaro looked at his wristwatch. Wakana was right. There was still time before they were due to meet Tokue. Shall we walk around for a bit? Yeah, she responded. Despite her affirmative reply, Sentaro detected a note of reluctancy in Wakana's voice. He recognized it because he felt the same. This had been an unknown world until very recently, one he had absolutely no connection with. But now here, they were right inside it. The Leprosy Prevention Act had been repealed in 1996. That year, former Hansen's patients had become free at last to leave the sanatorium where they had been isolated from society. At the same time, town residents who previously had not been allowed to enter the Tenshoen were permitted to pass through the gates. Nevertheless, human lives had been swallowed up by this place for 100 years, continually spurned. It felt to Sentaro as if the singular silence rose from the very earth beneath their feet, steep as it was in sighs and regrets. They set off past the museum and into the grounds following the path that was lined in both sides with imposing tall cherry trees, now bare of leaves. This would be a magnificent sight in spring, Sentaro thought. Still, they saw nobody. Apart from birdsong, they heard nothing. Sure, it's quiet in here, Sentaro remarked to fill the silence. Scary was how Wakana chose to express it. They spotted a bench near the avenue of cherry trees and went over to sit down. Sentaro put the birdcage on the ground and looked all about the deserted ground. Still no sign of human life. He saw orderly lines of single-storied row houses that made him think of residential complex in a foreign country, or maybe army barracks. In any case, somewhere far removed from his life. Silence engulfed them. A bicycle appeared in the distance, approaching from the other side of the cherry trees on a path that cut through the grounds. Since the grounds were open to anyone now, it could be a former patient still resident here, or someone from the neighborhood. The bicycle drew closer. They could see the rider was an elderly man who wore a hat with brim. Sentaro suddenly wondered what his face looked like, and he hesitated. Should he look at the man or not? Wakana looked down at the ground. Sentaro looked up, and the man passed by. Their eyes met. The cyclist's face was completely normal. He had a nose and no obvious signs of paralysis. He, on the contrary, looked at Sentaro and Wakana as if they were something unusual. As the bicycle grew smaller into the distance, Sentaro asked himself what he thought he had been doing, trying to examine the face of that man. He was about to go into the shop, a place where many of the people he would see might be former patients. Some of them might be severely disfigured. Was he prepared for that? Then again, the fact that the word prepared even came to mind probably meant he was wrong about himself. It wasn't his ability to control his reaction. He was unsure of so much as his own deep-seated feelings. It's so quiet here. I don't know what to make of it. Because it's real? Because people really live here? Wakana looked at the rows of housing. I guess so, but this isn't like reading about something on the internet. It's for real, said Sentaro. Awed by the sight, they nodded at each other. Shall we head for the shop now? It's a bit early, but Tokue is always early too. Sure. They stood up and continued along the path indicated to the signboard. By the signboard. Thus far, the avenue of trees had followed the contour of the boundary, but from here on, they were heading deeper into the grounds, towards the shop. There was one storied semi-detached building, was divided into 3 or 4 units. Some had washing hanging out the front, while the others had tightly closed curtains. It was still extremely quiet, with not even the sound of distant TV or radio to break the silence. They heard a teeny melody like a music box tune drifting through the air. Oh, look! Wakana pointed to the other side of the houses, where a distinctive looking truck was driving along the road very carefully. This was the source of the music. It gradually drew closer until it reached the road that they were now walking along, turned to the corner, and continued on ahead of them. What is that? Wakana voiced the thought that was also in Sentaro's mind. Their workers stood in the back of the truck, hanging onto the handrail. They were dressed from head to toe in white protection clothing. Sentaro and Wakana didn't know what the truck was for, but the sight of these workers riveted their eyes. Why do they have to wear that? Wakana asked. Probably because this is a sanatorium, a hospital. I guess people are sensitive about germs here. Sentaro blurted out the first thought that came to his mind. But what about Marvy then? You're right, a pet in a hospital might be. But Tokue said it would be okay. Sentaro glanced once more in the direction the truck had gone. If Hansen's disease was all but eradicated from Japan, what need was there for outlandish gear like that, he thought. No medical workers in the country had been infected through contact with patients. Why then didn't the workers here wear ordinary clothes? He began to feel anxious about having brought a young girl like Wakana here. Aha! People! Wakana stopped. They had passed the bath and chess ball, and she was looking at what looked to be a co-op supermarket, which Sentaro guessed must be the shop. People stood around, chatting outside. They're smiling, Wakana said, looking straight at them. All Sentaro's tension suddenly dissolved. His nervousness about meeting the residents dissipated the moment he saw them. They were just people. As Wakana said, they were laughing and looked calm and relaxed. One by one, Sentaro passed by them as they approached the shop. They saw people with canes and others holding a bag of medicine in both hands. The man on the bicycle was there too. All appeared to be in varying degrees of health, but the one thing they had in common was their advanced age. One person turned and stared at Marvy inside his cage. In one group, everybody seemed to be wearing sunglasses, perhaps some sort of impediment. They are all same age as Tokue-san, Sentaro whispered to Wakana. Then they were at the shop entrance. The door was wide open and they could see inside. It looked no different to any other supermarket. To the right were rows of shelves stocked with food and daily products. To the left was drinks vending machine near the wall and several round tables. Sitting alone at the table next to the wall was Tokue Yoshi. Chapter 17. Before Sentaro could say anything, Tokue saw them and slowly arose from her seat. Her eyes darted from Sentaro to Wakana back and back again. She blinked with one eye while holding her hand against her chest. Tokue-san, Sentaro spoke first. Tokue bobbed her head in greeting. Oh, it's been so long since I saw your face, she said. You too, Wakana dear. I'm sorry it's been so long, Sentaro answered. Yes, it's been a long time. Tokue's face shone with happiness as she turned to Wakana, excitedly flapping her hands. Thank you for coming, both of you. Not at all. We should be thanking you. Sentaro held up the birdcage for her to see. Sorry to bother you with this. Oh, what a beautiful yellow. I think it's a lemon canary. He's called Marvy. Wakana explained to Tokue how it had been impossible to keep Marvy at home after all. I didn't think he would sing so much, she said, her voice cracking in emotion. So now I'm looking after him. Like I told you in the letter, Sentaro added. Tokue peered into the cage. Marvy, he called to him. I wonder though, is it really okay to have pets here? Tokue nodded. Oh, it's fine. I used to have a canary once. Really? Oh, thank goodness, Wakana said. Sentaro and Wakana were both greatly relieved to hear this. There are neighborhood association rules. No dogs because they bark and noisy, and someone got bitten by one. But cat is okay. So small birds and animals are no problem. It's alright, I can take Marvy for you. Thank you, that's a big help, Sentaro said. Why were you worried anyway? She said. Well, Sentaro hesitated. She took a breath and went on. Because we're on our way here, we saw a strange looking truck. There were three workers standing in the back wearing some kind of protective clothing. Sentaro looked at Wakana for confirmation. Yes, it looks like spacesuit. So I thought maybe they have to wear the kind of gear because this is a hospital and perhaps we shouldn't bring animals in here. Secretly, Sentaro was worried that people wore those clothes because there's still a possibility of infection. But of course, he didn't mention that. It wasn't something he could very well say in front of Tokue. Oh, I know the truck you mean. Tokue shook her head. It's not what you think. You must have wondered when you saw those outlandish suits. Yes, I can well understand. Nobody wear those suits here now. Not workmen or cleaners or anyone working in the hospital. That truck was delivering food. A food delivery truck? Wakana asked. Yes, it delivers meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for people who need it. So they wear the same kind of white uniform for the people handling food in restaurants do. But now you mention it, I see what you mean. They are only ones whose clothing hasn't changed since the old days. So that's it. Sentaro and Wakana look at each other. This place was established over 100 years ago, but it's only recently a young girl like Wakana could enter these grounds freely. There's still a lot of needs changing. Only then it did occur to Sentaro that the people around them were all former Hansen's patients, and they might be able to hear this conversation. He wondered what they thought of him bringing up the topic of food delivery. It's all set then. I'll take care of Marvy for you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Sentaro said with a low bow. It's alright, really, Tokue smiled. I'm the one who's happy. My husband passed on 10 years ago and I'm all alone. It's all be good to have Marvy for company. You were married? I didn't know. Yes, I was. We never have children though. But you were... Sentaro's voice trailed away as he noticed that where this might lead. Tokue sensed discomfort and went on. I married someone I met here. I have already recovered, but it took a lot longer for my husband. Then he had a relapse. He had a hard life. I'm sorry to hear it. Then there was nothing Sentaro and Wakano could do but listen and absorb Tokue's words. Talking about it even now. People sat nearby tables drinking tea and coffee. Sentaro noticed them sneaking a look at himself and Wakana. But he put on a good fight, right? But he put on a good fight, Tokue continued. Did he die because of the relapse? No. Hansen's disease isn't terminal. Even people with severe symptoms usually have a full lifespan. My husband had a bad heart. Just as we thought he was in the clear, at last he suddenly passed away. Oh, yes, I see. But you know, even after death, people can't go back home to be buried. He was asked to lay rest in the charm house here. I visit him every day, cried Mavi. He can sing, said Tokue. Yes, he can, Wakana told her. He loves to sing, but my mother said that ordinary canaries' voices sound much better than he does. When mating season comes, it might compare, Sentaro interposed. Tokue laughed. It would be a pity if he can't find nature when it's time. She brought her face up to the cage and mimicked a bird chirping. Wakana looked embarrassed. How about another bird then? She mumbled. Yes, why not? A mate, Tokue answered. What do I feed him? Bird food? Some lettuce? And maybe some green leaves? Yes, he needs vegetables. Well, he's got a good appetite, this one. Sentaro added. Oh dear, excuse me. Tokue's nose had dripped and as he leaned over the cage. She pulled a packet of tissue from her pockets. I've got a bit of coal that's been hanging on for a while. Well, that's understandable. You were tired out by the time you finished up at Toroharu. Yes, I was. I haven't been quite well myself since then. Tokue blew her nose. Pardon me, she muttered softly. In the old days, this would never be forgiven. People need to believe that the sickness was spread through nasal mucus. That wasn't entirely wrong, though. She opened the neck of a drawstring bag and delicately dropped her tissue inside. Wakana followed her movement out the door and her eyes. When did you first come here? She asked abruptly. Sentaro tried to interrupt Tokue but didn't bat an eye. When I was around your age. My age? Yes, I lived out in the countryside when I was sick as a child. After Japan lost the war, there were times were very hard. My elder brother came back from the war in China. So thin he looked like a ghost, and then there wasn't enough food for the whole family. The middle of all that, my father died of pneumonia. Didn't you have medicine? Wakana spoke in low voice. Tokue shook her head and smiled wryly. Not in those days, cried Marvy. Chatter from the surrounding tables and wait. Chatters from the surrounding table rose and fell in waves. Sentaro and Wakana drew closer to Tokue to hear her. Even though my two older brothers found work, my younger sister and I did farm work, just as we were in starting to think that we would get by somehow. Our blue. I never thought. One day I noticed a red lump on my thigh. She pointed on her right leg. For a long time, I wondered what it was. My mother worried too, and took me to the doctor in the nearest town. But he didn't know. He just gave me some medication. But after a while, it looked as if you are spreading. And when I was losing feeling in the sole of my foot. Sorry, one moment please. I dropped my eyes. Hang on. Oh, I'm starting to see doubles. It's just now. Oh my god. After a while, it looked like it was spreading, and I was losing feeling on the sole of my foot. When I pinched it, I didn't feel any pain. I was starting to think that it was all very strange when the doctor called me back, and my mother and my elder brother went with me. Marvy, accustomed to the surroundings by now, burst into a loud song. People from other tables wandered over to look at him. Tokue stopped talking and waited for them to finish commenting on the canary. The doctor ordered me to come here to attention, she continued. I wasn't told anything, but my mother and brother seemed to know what was happening. You can't imagine what an enormous thing it was in those days to make a journey from home deep in the country to the edge of the Tokyo. We went home that night. My mother cooked up a special meal using anything she could find. We had fried egg, which was a real luxury then. My sister was over the moon about that at first, and then she started to get sad because my mother was crying. My brother told everyone I might have a serious sickness that was difficult to treat and wouldn't be home for a while, so we should be all prepared. I did my best to smile and eat everything, but of course I couldn't get anything down after hearing that. Didn't they tell you what was wrong? Sentaro asked. Well, Tokue made vague noises. Not directly. I never expected this, and didn't want to believe it might be anything like it. But the next day I had to leave with my oldest brother. What about your mother? Wakana asked. She came as far as the station. She cried and apologized to me. She stayed up late to make me a new blouse from a white knit fabric. I wondered where she found the material. It was long time since, or maybe even for the first time I had worn anything like it. When I thought about being away from my family, I was so lonely and scared. I wore that blouse at the station and hugged my mother goodbye. We both cried. My older brother and sister didn't come to. My other brother and sister didn't come to the station. They said goodbye to me at the front door for the last time too. My sister couldn't stop crying. I was crying too, but I kept telling her that it's okay, I'll come back. Then I got on the train for the long journey to Tokyo. It took all night to get here, and when we got off, my brother finally told me on the platform that I might have leprosy. If it turned out I did, he was going to leave me here. Tokue broke off. She looked down at the table and slowly closed her eyes. Then she dug out another tissue with her crooked fingers and gently pressed it to her eyes and nose. How old were you then, Tokue? Sentaro asked. Tokue paused. 14, she said finally, then loudly blew her nose. I underwent an examination and afterward had to get into a disinfectant bath to dispose of everything I wore or brought with me. I begged the nurse in tears to let me keep the blouse my mother made me, but she said no, that was the rule. I asked her to give it to my brother at least so he could take it back with him. Then she told me he had already gone, that I didn't have family with me anymore, and she said I should use a different name from now on. That's what they said. That's what we were told to do. I cried and screamed at the top of my voice. Why did this have had to happen to me? I knew what would happen. People with leprosy weren't allowed in society. I've seen lepers before. I thought they were scary. Never once did I imagine that would happen to me. Tokue faltered again. What about the blouse? Sentaro asked gently. I never saw it again. The blouse my mother made disappeared forever. I was given 2 striped cotton kimonos instead. That's all patients were allowed. They told me I wouldn't get any new ones for 2 years, so I should take good care of them. I was just a girl. Toku, Toku. A soft voice came from behind them. Tokue looked up. Ah, she said and waved. Toku dear, it's okay. I'll just leave this here and be off. Sentaro and Wakana turned to look in the direction of the voice. They saw an elderly woman whose face was smartly disfigured, much more severely than Tokue's, and whose lower lips hung low to reveal her gums. Sentaro didn't know how to react. He and Wakana simply nodded a greeting. My name is Moriyama. Tokue and I have been making sweets together all these years. I Tokue has been a great help to me. You must be the dorayaki man. Yes, that's me. I wish I could have worked there too. With this, she placed a plastic bag on the table and said, I'll be running along, and then smiled and left the shop. Sentaro and Wakana could see the bag contained something wrapped in aluminum foil. If it doesn't bother you, why don't you open it up and have a look? Said Tokue. Miss Moriyama must have been baking. If he were honest, Sentaro did not feel like putting anything from that bag into his mouth. He was still shaken by Tokue's story, slightly shocked from seeing someone severely disfigured by Hansen's disease close up for the first time. Tokue, sensing Sentaro's state of mind, reached out for the bag and lifted out the foil packet. She opened it up and took out a wafer-thin biscuit. Twill! Twill? Said Sentaro. A French biscuit, very thin and crispy, Tokue replied, holding one out each to Sentaro and Wakana. It's got almond and orange in it, very easy to make. You seem to know a lot. My business is confectionery, but I have no clue. Sentaro took the biscuit and brought it to his mouth. It would be a lie to say that he felt no hesitation, but the moment it touched his lips, the rich citrus aroma dispelled all doubts. The aroma intensified once he bit into a sliver of almond. This is interesting, he said. Isn't it? It smells just like cooked fruit. Wakana sounded brighter too. She broke fragments of the twig off with her fingers and put them in her mouth. How did you come to know about a biscuit like this, if you and the other lady have been here all this time? Tokue made a non-committal sound and folded the packet of tui up. Let's go for a little walk, shall we? She suggested, and they all stood up to leave. And with that, my dear, that is the end of chapter 17, and I'm going to stop that here because I need to attend a part-time job later at 2 o'clock. I can hang out for a bit. I'll go heat up some food. I can hang out and eat while talking to you guys, so I'm not ending my stream anytime soon, so you guys can have a little chit chat. I will go and get my kimbap. I'm eating kimbap today. And we have a mukbang stream when I'm back. And we can talk a little bit before I go. Okay? I'll be right back. Give me about 5 minutes.
Wow, you guys are still here. Kimbap time. So lazy. Gotta work later. Yes, yes, I will drink. Thank you, Adam. Yes. I have some remaining coffee and also a bottle of fruit juice. Uh, Guava, celery, apple. Yeah, guava, celery, apple. Yep. What's up, guys? Ugh. Sorry, this part of the chapter is a bit bo- boring for me, to be honest. I almost fell asleep, obviously. The eye drop. The eye drop helped a lot. There's not much to prep really. Honestly, I'm just no, I'm not staying because you guys are holding me hostage or anything. I'm staying because I'm just chilling, bro. And I'm gonna eat my kimbap before I go. This is where like, nah, you're not. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what is that to prepare besides like changing clothes? Which is what I'm doing now.
more followers to hit. Yeah, nobody really. Yeah, it's been stalled at that forever. Still a dungeon? You're stuck in a dungeon? You might keep up. Nom 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 nom. Mm.
Stretch.
Yeah, I'm stretching alright. Then you save. You can't redeem the noisy one either because I have them shut off. I can open them up.
I'll put them on. Hang on. I'm literally preparing for work right now. Not even kidding. See? Takes me, what, 5 minutes to get ready? It's nothing. Now I can chill until 1:30. Chill time? What? How are you guys doing today? Man. The book started off interesting and then it became so boring to me. It's like, I don't know. Like it's like started off on the strong side and then I just felt so boring as I was reading it, to the point that my eyes were like literally closing on itself. Okay, there you go. All redemption that's available is now all available. Confession's finished, my dear. You can watch the VODs. I always have VODs for them. I have a library of like content that you can watch. Yeah, my library is very extensive, and I'm like a bit of a clean freak, so I like put them in like different categories, so you can see, because confession is like, if I read a book from just like a single writer, I'll put them in various writers category collection. But if it's like a recurring author, they have their own category or collection. Well, confession is done. But yeah, so I'll go to my YouTube channel also. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm like self-promoter right now. YouTube should be up at, yeah, confessions finale. Yeah. By the way, if you guys have not followed me on had not subscribed to me on YouTube, please do subscribe to me on YouTube. Not that it matters really, seriously, I don't know. Oh wow, there's like 4 views for what? Why? Yeah, but if you wanna watch from YouTube, just go to the Noodible's Noodible's whatchamacallit category, and then you should have all of them, all of my previous, like even my first Noodible, which was like done in Old Charlene, the first chapter of I Am a Cat. Yeah, confession is there already, so you can watch it there. Yeah, Zelon is here. My next book depends on whether the book that I have bought will arrive before I finish this book. But if it has not arrived, then I will pick something that is also new to me.
how do I wait? Oh, your question is how do I decide? Well, the I decided this book this week. I just give my viewers 3 books, and then you guys voted on it, and you guys pick Sweet Bean Paste. My next one would be when I finish Sweet Bean Paste. I will do another poll and let you guys choose which one. But it would be basically a selection of books that I already chose, and then after that you guys chose according to the title. Um, I don't. I will not do requests because sorry for chewing sound, but because if I do requests, people will make me read Murakami's book, which I hate, and then they might also make me read Smuts, which I do not want my voice to be associated to. Oh yeah. Is eating ASMR satisfying for you all? All my viewers are gone. There's like 4 people left. Thank you for Zelon and Spooty Patootie for being here. You guys are awesome. Hello. Good afternoon. Or morning. Or evening, wherever you guys are. Apparently I have a lot of US viewers, so it should be like evening for them. So yeah. Sweet Bean Paste chapters goes by very fast. So we are now halfway through the book. So I think maybe by next Monday I should be able to finish Sweet Bean Paste. And then I will let you guys. Oh, welcome, Maroom. I believe in Korean, Arum means beautiful. Arumdao. I think so. Not 100% sure because I've never really learned Korean. Arumdao. Beautiful. Oh really? Or if it's like it's different. They have different word for pretty. Pretty is 예쁘지. 너는 예쁘지. You are truly beautiful. Hell yes, you are indeed truly beautiful. There's no denying it. 나는 예쁘지. Wait, that's I'm beautiful. What's you in Korean? No. 너는 예쁘지. I think I should learn Korean. Apparently it's very easy. Much easier than Japanese. It's just the pronunciation that's difficult. And network's not very stable today. Well, my network's never stable. Like my brain. I think in Korean, na is I or me. No is you. But there's like nuance to it, so it's like very difficult. Arum lily.
Then what about food?
Arum lily. Oh, that's beautiful. Arum. Oh, that's beautiful. There's so many different arum. Oh, seriously? Food? Damn, son. Don't ask me how I name my character. It's terrible. How about Spooty? Why do you name yourself Spooty Patootie? Or Zelont Likoi? 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 Likoi. Likoi. Yeah, I kind of named Nuna to like rhyme with Ariana as well. I'm supposed to name myself Arianun because I like 3 syllables, but it's just not. It's just like kept like, oh, not available, not available. So I just kept adding like syllables. Uh, like keep adding vowels and consonants until something comes out and it became Ariana Nuna. Not that scary. No cats are scary. What are you talking about? Cats are all cute. No, I don't. I'm not. I don't like Ariana Grande. I have my name before Ariana Grande was Ariana Grande. It's. I don't think her Ariana is spelled this way anyway. Her one is Riana, I think. I only have like if you really like force me to choose a song from Ariana Grande that I like, I would say Imagine. I think Imagine is the only song that I like from Ariana Grande. And that's because the music video for that song is dope as fuck. Let me Instagram. Sorry, I almost choked on my gimbap.
Last roll of kimbap. This stream has become a mukbang stream for some reason. Although my character is not eating anything. I should like have like a kimbap photo like near my mouth of the avatar or something. Okay. I'm almost gonna end as well. My stream. Alright. Just ate the last of my kimbap. Aw, you gonna leave me too, Arum? How could you? 1:30. I still have time. It's a very this is a very chill kimbap eating stream right now. And the kimbap is now in my belly. What the fuck are you guys doing right now? God. Chaos. Chaos. I love it. Chaos. I'm so quiet. This is the best stream ever, man. Not even kidding, man. Can you guys hear me whistle? Because apparently on Discord, the people can't hear me whistle. I'm very sad. That's all I can do, really, cause I'm musically inclined. I can't do anything better than that. So I can probably like attract some fucking birds. Or cats, maybe. What the fuck am I doing? What the fuck are you guys doing? Jesus Christ. This is chaos and I love it. Well, I'll be AFK in game today until like maybe 6:30 when I'm home. I will see you guys then. Oh, I love that dance. I forgot what that dance is called. I forgot. Goal dance, yes. Okay. Aw, thank you. Thank you. It's my first time going out to work. It's very scary for me. Yes, I love to do the backward walk as well. It's so funny. This is a great stream, guys. An amazing stream. Alright, now I'm full of coffee and tea and kimbap. My god. Stretch. Oh, I'm so nervous. Oh my god. I'll be okay. Okay. Aw. You guys have no idea. I've never worked with another person in years. Very scared. I hope they just put me on menial work and stuff so that it won't overwhelm me so much today. Wow, I'm so tired already before going. Cause I worked myself off like mentally and then I got tired myself and then when I'm there I'm tired. No, I can't be that. I cannot be tired, please. Not now. I woke up at 6 a.m. today. My brain is stupid. I don't know what to do with it with my sleep schedule. Okay, I should stop blabbing and I should go now. Okay. Thank you guys for being here with me today as usual. I really appreciate all of you. Each and every one of you. And I hope that
you guys will have a very smooth Wednesday. And the rest of the week, I will see you guys on the weekend. Maybe I'll stream weekend. I can't promise. I'm not gonna promise, but maybe I will stream. Maybe. For now, I bid you all goodbye with my favorite song in this world. Right.
Have you ever had a dream that you could know you wanna know
Yeah. Cracks me up every time. Bye guys, I love you all. Sorry I'm not more energetic today. It's I had a rough day yesterday. Bye bye. I'll see you guys soon. Da 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 da.